Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library Program. And we're going to do some earrings today. We're still in the midst of Black History Month. So I thought we would use some African beads and do some African inspired designs with some regular designs that I'm going to use. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to make a couple of pairs of threaders, which I don't think we've ever done that before, so I'm a little excited about that. And again, we're going to use some, sorry, along with it. It's not going to take anything special. For those of you who don't get kits, you can use any beads to make these designs. You're going to use your usual tools, your round nose pliers that are round, all of the barrels are round all the way around, and they taper smaller towards the tip. Your square nose pliers, which are slightly rounded on the outside but flat on the inside. And remember, if you buy these in the store, to make sure that there aren't any grips or ridges on the inside, because that'll just chew up your wire. You'll also need a pair of cutters. These have seen better days, but they still work, so I'm keeping them until they don't. So a pair of cutters to cut your wire. You're going to need 20 gauge wire. We're using 20 gauge wire for this entire project. And you're going to need a ruler to measure your wire and a cylindrical item to make some coils. So we're going to be coiling and spiraling and all of that. So it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. So, and I'm only wearing one earring because I've already made one, and I'm making another one. So let's get started, because I really would like to get through 3 pairs of earrings and not take up all of your time. I think I've told you everything. We're going to use beads. Again, you can use any beads you want. Look and see the beads that I have down here that I'm using, and it doesn't require any special beads at all. These are just the ones that I'm using. I'm using a paper bead from Ghana. I'm using a pressed glass bead. I think it came from Rwanda, if I'm not mistaken. And then I'm using some seed beads to do an African inspired pattern on one of the pairs of earrings. So let's go ahead and get down here to the other camera and get. Okay, I'm going to start with a pair of earrings that requires coiling. We've done coiling in the past, but we're going to use that again. Those of you who get kits, we're going to be making one of our coils, and then I'm going to give you a pre-made coil to do part of it. So we're going to be making a coil and a spiral, and using a beautiful African print bead to make our earring, and 20 gauge wire. So what we need is, I'm going to give myself 6 inches of 20 gauge wire. Because of the size coil that I want to make. You can make it, you can use more or less depending on the size coil you want to make on the bottom. But I know what I need, and I don't want it to be any bigger than the one that I've already done. So that's where I'm going. So first thing I'm going to do is my wire. I'm going to make a coil that starts part of the way down my wire. I'm going to give myself an inch from the tip and just grasp my wire with the tip of my pliers, and I'm going to make a loop. So I'm going to just rotate this with my plier hand. I'm going to rotate until I can't go any further, because the wire will stop me. So, I'm sorry. I need to go about 1/3 of the way down my wire. If you're following along, I hope that I didn't mess you up. But if I did, just uncoil and slide it down to where you want it to be. This is very malleable wire, so you'll be okay. Okay, so I'm going 1/3 of the way down my pliers, and I'm coiling until I can't go any further because this little leg of the wire is in the way. So I'm going to take my pliers out, put them back in, over top of that wire. And I'm going to keep on coiling. And I'm coiling the wire one coil on top of the other, nice and close together. And then when I can't go any further, I'm going to take it back out and put it back in there. Now, notice that I'm keeping the spot that I'm coiling in the same place. The rest of the wire is going to be drifting out towards the tip because I want this coil to be all the same size. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give myself 3 rotations here, all the way around until that little short tail is flat again. I'm going to give myself one more. So I'm going to give myself one more rotation all the way around. And there we go. So there's my coil. And now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and make my spiral. Should I go ahead and put my bead? I think I'm going to go ahead and put my bead. So what I want to do is take this long arm of wire that I have here, and I want to push this towards the center of my loop. And in order to do that, I need to put a bend in my wire. So I'm going to go right here where the wire is, the coil ends and the wire straight. And I'm going to take my square or your round nose pliers, whichever works better for you. And I'm going to put a sharp bend in my wire. Probably work. That might work better with the round nose. Let's just put a little bend in there, just to direct it. Sorry, I looked at my door because it heard sound. Okay, so I'm directing that in a little bit. You can also just squeeze it, but you're going to have to be careful. If you're going to squeeze it, I would lift that out just a little bit away from the last coil, away from the rest of the coils. That might make it easier to turn this into. And then I'm going to squeeze that in towards the center. Nice and easy. Just like that. I'm going to push that back down. I opened that up, so I'm going to push that back. I'm going to squeeze it more until it's nicely centered. There we go. So that's what we have right now. Go ahead and push the coils back together that I lifted out. Okay. So now I have my wire in the center, a little bit over to the side. Squeeze that in a little more. There we go. Now I'm going to turn this wire straight up. You can do that with your fingernail, or you can do that with your pliers. I think it's easier to do with your fingernail, but if you want to do it with your pliers, put your fingernail in there and lift that away from that last coil, that top coil, away from the rest of them. And just go in with your pliers, around those pliers, because they're the smallest, and lift that wire up. That's if you're trying to protect your manicure. That's the best way to do it. I'm going to go in with my pliers and turn that wire straight up, like so. And that lifted that little coil up. So I'm just going to push it back down. You'll be doing a lot of adjusting. Just take your time and be patient. So there we are. So that's what I have. Now I'm going to put my bead on. Okay. And now I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to go ahead and bend my wire to the side, out straight to the side, right at the top of my bead. Just like that. Then I'm going to go in with my round nose pliers. And I'm going to go halfway to the back of the pliers because this is a very large opening and I want to make sure that my loop is large enough to accommodate that. And I'm going to put a little wrap on top as well to cover up that hole. So I'm going to bring this wire over the top of my pliers and down the side of my bead until I can't go any further because bead is in the way. Then I'm going to reposition my pliers on top of that half loop that I started and engineer this wire in between the pliers and the bead. This is a very malleable wire, so it's not hard to do. So now I have that loop on top, but I need to adjust it so it's right on top of my bead. I don't want a whole lot of wiggle room with the bead here. So I'm just going to rotate my pliers until my wire is resting on top. Then I'm going to redirect that strand of wire out to the side again. And there's my loop. And it's going to wiggle a little bit because the hole in here is so big. So don't worry about that. We're going to tighten it up a little bit with our wrap. So I'm going to switch to my round nose pliers and I'm going to hold on to what I call the face of the loop, which is the flat part. And I'm going to take that tail of wire that I have here and wrap it between the pliers and the loop. You're going to have to avoid that little strand down here on the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to wrap this around. I'm going to check, make sure that that's nice small loop in there. And I'm going to continue to wrap. And just check it every once in a while to make sure it's looking the way you want it. And I'm wrapping the wire around itself to create a little cap on top of my bead, a little wire cap. So check that out. Make sure it's nice and snug. Wires are being wrapped beside each other, nice and close. I know it's hard to see with my pliers in the way, but unfortunately, there's no other way to do it. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, out pretty good. Wires are wrapping nice and close around each other. We're just wrapping the wire beside itself. And then when it gets too short for me to work with my fingers, I'm going to use my pliers. But actually, I should work it with my fingers, but I'm trying to make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm just pushing that around the rest of the way until I run out of wire or until I don't want to wrap it anymore. When the coil gets to the size that you want, you can just cut the rest off if you want to. So this little tip here, I want to push as close to the other wires as I can, so it's not sticking out, ready to claw on your ears or scratch your ear. There we go. So there's the top of my bead. So now I'm going to go down here to the bottom and make a spiral. So again, I want to bring this over to the center of my loop. And for that, I'm just going to scoot it over with my fingers. I'm going to hold on to right in between the top loop and the top coil and the second coil. I'm just going to scoot that over. Just sort of like I did with my pliers, but with my fingers. And then if you want to protect your manicure, again, you can squeeze it very gently with your pliers, because again, this is very soft and malleable wire. It will do what you want it to do without too much force. There we go. And now I'm ready to make a spiral. I don't want too big a spiral, so I only need about an inch of wire for the spiral size that I want. This is about an inch and a little over an eighth. So I'm gonna clip that off. Yeah, these pliers are on the way. These cutters are, so and now I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and we're going to make a spiral. Now a spiral is different than a coil, because the coil, you wrap the wires on top of each other, side by side, on top of each other, so that you build up. A spiral, you're going to wrap the wire around itself. Here's what I mean. So I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers, just to make sure nothing's sticking out that tip there. You want it right in between the pliers with nothing sticking out. And then I'm going to rotate. Notice how I'm anchoring it with my finger and my thumb so that it won't get away from me. And I'm going to turn with my plier hand until I almost have a loop. I don't want to close that completely up because I'm going to make it open spiral. Then I'm going to continue spiraling around until I have the spiral size that I want. And notice how slowly I'm going. And then when I get to the point that I will start smashing my little spiral, if I keep going with the round one, I'm going to switch to the square one just to roll it the rest of the way. And there we have it. And there is my earring. Make any adjustments that you want to make. And squeeze that so that my little coils are lined up a little bit better. There we go. And there's the bottom part of my earring. So now I'm going to grab my little coil that I'm going to add to it, a little prefab coil. Now you could make this your entire earring. This could be it. And you could just put an ear wire on it and be done. But I am going to add this coil just to give it a little bit more length. And I'm going to give those of you that have get a kit, I'm going to give you a pre-made coil that's already going to have a loop on one side, and you'll just need to make a loop on the other side. And the way to do that is to take your round nose pliers and grip that top coil, just the top one. Now, the easiest way to do that is to kind of pry your fingernail in there and lift that top coil away from the other coil, and then go back in with your pliers on the opposite side away from the tip, and just turn that coil straight up. Just turn it up to make a loop. So now it's looped on both sides. I'm going to open that up. Just right here where the tip of the loop is, just pull that out to the side and attach it to the closed loop of the bottom half of my earring, close it up, and there you have it. There's your earring. Now all we need is an ear wire. So for that, I need about 2.5 inches. I'm going to say 2.5 inches. It really only takes me 2, but you might want a longer tail than I like. Okay, so in order to make my ear wire, I just need to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers and make another loop. Loops are big business with when you're doing wire work. Make that loop just like I did the other one. Then grab an ink pen or a pencil or not, maybe not a pencil unless it's round, or even the side of your pliers. You don't necessarily need a pen. Let me show you with pliers. And put the wire on the pliers with the back side of the wire against the pliers. The back side is the side that's opposite the loop. So the loop is facing down and the wire is on pliers, just at the back of that loop. So there's my loop. Gonna bring that wire around and over to touch that little loop, just like that. And then I'm going to just shape that wire, give it a gentle curve with my finger, and cut off what I don't want. I usually cut it off maybe half an inch, 3/8 of an inch below the loop. This is why I said I only need 2 inches. But you might want a longer tail. Then take your round or your square nose pliers right here at the tip of your wire and give it a little tweak like this. Then you want to take an emery board or nail file and round out the end, because this is going in your ear and you don't want it to be rough. There we go. And open up that loop. Attach my earring. Just put the closed loop inside the open loop. Open it a little bit more. And there we go. There's my earring. Isn't that awesome? Yay. All right, let's go on to earring number 2 and get this all done. Okay, the next one we're going to make is a spiraled threader. And for that, I need 10 inches of wire. Again, this is subjective. It depends on what size coil you want for your necklace, for your earring. I know exactly what size I want. So I'm going to give myself 10 inches. You might want to give yourself 10 to 12 in case you want to make yours bigger or smaller. Give it an 8. But you're going to have to, this is going to be a trial and error. You're going to have to try it out to see what it is you want it to look like. So I'm using a Sharpie. You can use a Sharpie. I was going to use this ink, but I think I'm going to use this Sharpie so I can have a slightly bigger coil. And I'm going to wrap my wire around it 3 times. So I'm going to just right here, hold on to the end, wrap that around, 1 complete wrap. 2 wraps. And 3. I'll do it. we go. So I'm going to pull these apart a little bit. Like that. And then I'm going to bring this top wire into the center, sort of like we did with the other one. Now you can see it larger. So I'm going to, just on the opposite side of where this end is, I'm going to grasp my wire with my pliers and put a bend in it. So just bend that to the inside. And I want it to go right here in the center. It could be a little bit further back. I'm going to re-bend. That. There we go. Just like that. And now I'm going to make a bend straight down. So I need to put a sharp bend in it. I'm not going to be able to put it straight down because the coils are in the way, but I will show you how to fix that. I'm going to put a nice bend in the wire just to get it started. And then I need to work this down inside my coil. So in order to do that, you have to wrap this coil around it. So I'm just going to maneuver that right in between my coils. You're going to have to be patient with yourself on this one. There we go. Just get that inside. That out. Yeah, I have to almost mangle my wire to get it inside. But I have faith that you can do it, even if you have to pull it up and then push it back in. Very, very malleable wire. You can make it work. And then I need to reshape the coil. There we go. That's straight down. There we go. And just readjust. The coils apart. Straighten my wire out down here. And just adjust it until my coils are wrapped around this little stem. Okay, there we go. Took a lot of finagling, but there we have it. So this is what I have now. It's supposed to look orbital, which is it. And I want this to go right down the center. I'm going to adjust it until it does. Here we go. And now I'm going to put my bead on. My bead is going to be this nice little paper bead got here. I'm going to slide that on. Now I want that to rest about just below my second ring, right in the middle of my bottom. Let's see if it's just a little bit more. There you go. I like to make these adjustments later. I just am adjusting my little orbit. Okay, let me put my bead on. I can play with that later. Slide my little bead on. And I want it to rest right here in the middle of my first coil. So there's my little tail there. So what I'm going to do is bend the wire. Oh, let me explain this. This is where your ear is going to go. Your ear is going to hold this right in here. It's going to be neat. I'll show you. Anyway, let's go ahead and bend my wire right down here at the bottom, just below where my bead is. And I'm going to make a spiral. It's going to be another open spiral. Doesn't need to be huge. I'm going to give myself about an inch wider. Again, maybe an inch and a quarter, a little bit bigger than the other one we did. Yeah. An inch and a quarter. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to make an open spiral. Once again, I'm going to grab onto the tip of my wire about a 1/16 of an inch away from the tip because I wanted that first coil to be first loop to be a little bigger. Until I have an almost closed loop. Then I'm going to keep spiraling. And I don't want my wires to touch. That's what makes it an open spiral. A little bit. And then when I can't go any further comfortably with my round pliers, I'm going to pick up square pliers and continue the spiral. And continue my spiral. And this is very organic, so be kind to yourself. And don't be too critical. And let's see, here we go. There's my spiral, there's my bead, and there's my earring. I'm going to adjust my little wires until they look a little more the way I picture them. Very Jetsons. For any of you who grew up with the Jetsons, I'm redating myself. And that is my earring. That is it. This goes in your ear, so you're going to want to make sure that you file this just like you did the other one. Round it out. Because you don't want to put that in your ear that way. Otherwise you will not be happy. A little bit. So let me show you what it looks like. Here's the other one. This is the way it goes in your ear. If you can see that. This is the top part, this part. And that just goes right in your ear. At the end of this, I will show you how to put it in your ear. I want to move on to a Venice. It's also going to spiral, but it's going to be very, very simple. It's going to be a round spiral. I'm getting my here. It's just a very simple spiral earring. So we've got 2 down. So what I want for this, about 5 inches of wire. Take it out. And it depends on how big you want the spiral to be. You want to make that clear. This is the size that I'm using. Might end up cutting some off. We will see. So now we're going to make a very large open spiral. We've made a lot of those so far. So what I'm going to do is grab the tip of my wire, slide the wire about, quarter of an inch down your pliers. Because we're going to make a nice big opening. And I'm going to curl that around into a loop about 3/4 of the way. 3/4 loop. And then I'm going to continue to spiral. This time, instead of using the pliers, I'm going to use both my plier hand and my wire heat to make my spiral. So I'm going to curve this around. Take your time to curve it around the way you want it to be curved. And now this is another one of those very natural organic. So it's going to, each one of your earrings, you're going to want to make it as close to the same as possible. But again, very natural process. So there may be slight differences in your earrings. Wrap that around. And when you get to, I don't want my wire to fit because it's an open spiral. And what I'm going to do is use my fingers. You can use both your fingers and your pliers to make your spirals. And I'm going very slowly so that I can position it the way I want. And this is very malleable, soft, dead soft, 20 gauge wire. So it's very easy to do. Just want to control it a little bit at a time. And you just want to place the wires where you want them. If you wanted it wider, you could keep the coils further apart. If you want them smaller, you just push them together. But just take your time. Be patient. Let's see here. 1, 2. That's good. Take it around a little bit further. Nice and slip. And if you're worried about the fact that this is very malleable, over time, it's work hardened. The more I work on this, the harder, the more the wire will stiffen up. So you don't have to worry about it coming apart. If you're thinking that, well, if it's that easy to manipulate, is it going to hold its shape? Yes, it will hold its form. Over time, it gets a little stiffer, and it will be. So now I'm going to finish this off. This end, I'm going to squeeze it a little closer together. I'm going to end this with the end of the tail of this right just below the tip here. And there we go. And just make all of your adjustments as you get. I love this wire. 20 gauge copper dead soft is my go-to wire. It works beautifully with all kinds of things. All right, I'm going to finish that off. Bring that around until the tip is just across from the little curve. This tip, or the tip that I'm going to cut off, is just across from the original curve. Around. Go again. Just clean. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this off. Here we go. Right here. This is where my ear is going to rest. So this little tail is what's going to go in my ear. Make whatever little adjustments I want, and let's put my beads on there. Okay. Here. Red one's on. Red, black, green, and yellow for little rasta colors. And I'm just using little seed beads. They're about 4 millimeter. You can use crystals or any 4 millimeter bead in order to make this. It doesn't have to be anything special. I'm going to roll those around until they drop right in the center. And there's my earring. I want to round that out. So that I can put it in my ear without killing myself. And there in my earring. Just put them down a little bit. Wire. Other one. Later. Oh, there we go. And there are my earrings. So here we have our earrings. 3 pairs of earrings. The other one's in my ear, sorry. And these are these are my earrings. I'm going to put these on. And then I'm going to show you how to put the green ones on. And I'll show you how to put these on too. So let's do that. So these are our 3 pairs of earrings. Yay. Yeah. Okay. So that flip. I'm not right now. All right. So now I just hand it back like this. Okay, so how we get these on. This is the one that's probably the most challenging. So what you want to do is take this little end and you're going to thread that into your ear piercing. So that goes right in there. And then you roll it around, just thread it around until you get to the top. Try not to do it with 2 hands. And there you go. There's my earring. Isn't that neat? I love it. And this one, that's why this part at the top is so important, because that's what your earring, and that's what hangs in your earlobe. This, of course, is the other earring, the first earring we did, and this is the last one that we're doing. Second, we started it. Filed it. Give myself another ear. And again, just take a little tip, slide it into, and I put the 2 rings. I put my earlobe between the 2 rings because I find that's the easiest way to do it. And then find the piercing. Just so I can see. Come on. Where are you? There it is. And a little. There it is. Okay, slide that in. And like that. There it is. Here's the bottom. Slide that in. And just let it hang there. Here our earrings. Yay. And this one has a lot more blue and red in it. That's the beauty of handmade beads. These come out. I don't know where the fresh glass comes from, but somewhere in Africa. And they are absolutely gorgeous. That's part of it. I think beautiful. And they look different on every side. Anyway, those are our earrings for the day. I hope you enjoyed this because I am great to wear. On that. There we go. And I can't wait to wear these earrings. I hope that you will make them yourself. And I hope that you will enjoy wearing them as well. So anyway, please get in touch with me and let me know what Sorry, I accidentally paused it. I'm trying to get to the other camera. Please let me know what you think about this and what you thought about the tutorial, because I always love to hear from you and hear how I did. I love your positive feedback, but I also really love your not so positive feedback that tells me, oh, this, I didn't get this or that or the other, so that I can improve for the next time. So, oh, somebody made a comment, and I'm going to comment on that, about the little thumbnail that they put on YouTube when you see the tutorial, and it's usually just my hands or something like that. And they say, can't you show us a picture of the actual item? I don't post these. They're posted by my public library, and they do that. They do all of that, and I am not dictating to anyone about how they should do it. What I would suggest that you do is just scroll to the end where I show the pieces, and then you'll be able to see what we make before you get started and decide whether or not you want to make it. Because this is not a sophisticated program. This is my public library that's bringing these to you. And I love that they do that. And they're bringing it to everybody for free. And as far as I know, they're going to be out there forever. So I'm just very grateful that they're doing that. And I hope that it's bringing you some joy and something to learn. Please let me know what you think, all of it. I would love to hear your critique and your comments. You can email me at jewelrygen20 @gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20 You can send me pictures. Please send pictures. I love them. To the library Facebook page, which is facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's spelled DEKALB You can also leave comments on the DeKalb County Library YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb Library. Please let me hear from you. I would love to. But that's it. That's our program for today. I think I'm going to wear these. They don't really go with my shirt, but they kind of do, but they kind of don't. But, or these. Oh, these actually do go nicely. Anyway, I'm going to put one of these pairs of earrings on. But until next time, have a great week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.